dough. So can anyone put in the chat, what does yeast go into warm water or cold water? That's okay. Type in the chat down below, warm water or cold water, or does it go in boiling water? Everybody go ahead and type it in. Answers are rolling in.
Really? Woohoo!
Yeah, we got some answers.
They are awake. They love us.
Uh-oh. Jason's driving. Don't type while driving, Jason.
Jason! Be careful. Don't be typing while you're driving. Stick it on the thing. There's still flour all over. There's still flour all over the kitchen from our bread. Ooh, over there. There's flour there. Look at, there's flour over there. There's flour over here. Flour everywhere.
Okay, guys. So yes. Oh, your dad is okay. Good. Don't be driving. Boil it alive. Yes, youngin. No, the correct answer is warm. So we need 1.5 cups of warm water that's between the degrees of 95 and 115. All right, so now we have our warm water. So can anyone tell me what else does yeast need? So yeast needs water. What else does it need? Put that in the chat. Everybody type in. Send it in. So my water is at 102. Perfect temperature. You got a couple answers. Looking for a couple more. Couple more. Anybody else? Want to chime in? Ooh, that's a good answer. Right. So the answer is sugar. So it needs sugar. It needs some kind of sweetness, energy source. I like how Youngin put it, and an energy source. Because it is alive, it needs a food. And the yeast gets its food, can get it from flour, it can get it from honey, from maple syrup, corn syrup, or our usual suspect, the sugar. So for our sugar, we need 1 teaspoon of sugar. Pretty small amount, because you know pizza's not like very sweet. But I'm gonna add that into my water, my warm water. And then I need 2¼ teaspoons of yeast into my water. And this is just starting your yeast before we mix everything together. 2¼ or 1 packet. If you're going by packets, it's 1 packet. And then I'm gonna use, so here's what it is looking like. You can mix it up. And you guys have been using your yeast, so you know if your yeast is alive and healthy or if it's dead. But like in the video, she really explained it really well, how if your yeast doesn't foam up and doesn't look like it's alive, throw it away and get new yeast. But usually when you have the little packets, they go really easily. So yeah, so you mix that all together, we set that aside, and then we get the rest of our ingredients together. So we need our flour and our salt now. So we need 3.5 cups of flour. There's 3. And there we are, 3.5. And 2 teaspoons of salt. And now could anyone type in the chat, anybody tell me what would happen if I just put the yeast in the warm water? What happened to it? Go ahead and type into the chat. I'll wait. And then we're gonna add in 2 tablespoons of olive oil. I'm using extra virgin olive oil. It gives a nice flavor and it tenderizes our dough. It'll make us have a nice tender pizza because you don't want to be biting into a pizza and have a really tough crust and you can't even chew through it. So the oil really helps soften that up. So what would happen if I just put water in here and yeast? Would anything happen? Go ahead and type it. I just need one answer. Come on. Somebody answer me. Anybody? One answer. Come on. Anybody know? You can also put, I don't know, if you don't know, what would happen? Just warm water and yeast in here? Don't make me call on you. Alright, I'm gonna have to call on somebody. Somebody doesn't answer. Okay. Young, and tell me what would happen. I just put water and yeast in here. You don't know? Alright, well, nothing would happen because there's no food in here. You said it needs an energy source. So, without an energy source, it can't start reproducing. If you just have warm water, it'll just stay the same. But thank you for your shrug. I like it. So now I'm adding in my yeast with my water and sugar into my bowl with all the flour. And you can do this with a mixer, or you can do it, some people like doing it with the back of a spoon or the front of a spoon, whatever you're comfortable with. So I'm just gonna start mixing this all together. Bring it together into a ball form. And if it's a little bit too dry, you can get a little bit more water, or if it's a little too wet, you can add a little bit more flour. So it's just about looking at it and seeing what it looks like, how it feels to you. If it feels like it's too dry or too wet. So once I have it all mixed together like this, we're gonna do what we did with our bread and just kind of bring it together. Bring all that flour on the edge, because we don't need to add more flour until all this flour is gone. Bring it all together. Get in there with your hands. And you should almost always do this ahead of time. You can have it, I think the recipe says proof or bulk ferment for an hour. So you can bulk ferment for an hour, or you can do it overnight, like I'm gonna do. So we can put it in the fridge, because the fridge retards the yeast. So we can put it in the fridge overnight, and it'll be ready the next day.
So do pizza parlors have to make their crust every day, or do they keep it for a few days?
They usually, fresh pizza places will usually make it 2 days. So like they'll make one batch for today, plus one batch for tomorrow. So they don't have to do it every day. I don't know. Does anybody here have a job at a pizza place? I don't think anybody in here. But yeah, so my dough's looking a little bit dry. You can see that it's not really absorbing any of this extra flour. There's not a lot of moisture left. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get a little bit of warm water. And I'm not gonna use this. I'm gonna put my hand in here, get a little bit of drips, and drip it in here. Barely wetting it at all, like a couple of drops. You don't want to add too much water, because then you're adding too much moisture. You're gonna have to add more flour and keep on going forever, just adding more water, more flour, more water, more flour. So it should start to pick everything up out of the bowl. Once it does that, then you know you have a good consistency. And it's still feeling a little bit dry. You want it to not be sticking to your hands, but you also don't want it to feel like somebody's dry elbow, you know?
Yeah.
Like a moisturized elbow. Yeah. And remember that once you put it on your table, you're gonna have a little bit more flour. So if it's a little bit sticky, like right now I just added about a few more drops. It's a little bit tacky on the outside. So that's where we want it, like a little bit soft and tacky. And then we're gonna take this bowl out of here, and I'm gonna give it a couple of kneads, because that'll get us a little bit closer to our gluten development level. Because you know, when we're making bread, right? We're making a crusty bread. We want that bread to be really well glutenized, very chewy, very nice and tough. When we're making something like a cake, we want that cake to be really, really tender and really soft. But if you think of eating a piece of pizza, you'll notice it's a little bit chewy, a little bit bready, but it's also tender and you can bite through it. It's not like too tough to chew, you know? So you want to make sure that your dough has a little bit of a knead, a little bit of a gluten development, but not so much that it's like a baguette, like if you've ever eaten a baguette before. So I'm giving it a couple of kneads, just tossing it around a little bit. And you guys know how to knead, right? So we stand it up, push down, stand it up, push down. Oh, 72 hours, Jason? So yeah, so 48. Yeah, so 3 days, right? 48. Yeah, I think. Yeah, you kind of need it like a clay. So I like to just stand it up like this, and then I'll take my whole palm of my hand and I'll push down, give it a good push down. Lift it up, push, lift it up, push. And you can kind of turn it too, like this. Turn it, push. And that'll be working your gluten strands and make a nice chewy texture. So once you have it a little bit nice and soft, I like to give it a little bit more flour on the outside, just so that it doesn't stick to anything. And then we like to roll it kind of into a ball shape. It's very, very tender right now. It's very soft. Once it sits with this in the fridge, the yeast will get to work eating away at the sugars, and the gluten will start to build over time. As the water and the flour come together, the gluten will build. So we'll feel it in the next, we'll feel it on Thursday. It'll feel very, very nice and like springy and chewy. So then, okay. So now that you have a texture that you like, now that you have a dough feel that you like, we're gonna take another clean bowl, and I'm gonna just take 2 teaspoons of extra virgin olive oil and place this into my bowl so that it doesn't stick in here. Everything's good. You can take it and you can kind of spread it around inside there like this. Or you can spray it if you don't happen to have olive oil and you just want to spray it, you can do that too. And then we place it in there like that. Should be able to slide around easily. And you can kind of take a little bit of the side grease and put it on the side oil and put it on the top so that it doesn't stick to the top of your plastic wrap if you have kind of a small bowl. Just like this. You guys can see. So there should be a little full of oil on the outside. And then we're gonna wrap this with plastic and we're gonna put it, you need the dough like that. I already read that one. And then I'm gonna put this into the fridge for, I think it's a day and a half, I guess, tomorrow and the next day. And
yeah, because we're off tomorrow.
yeah, we're off tomorrow, so it'll just be in the fridge the whole day and it'll be perfect the next day. If you want to make the pizza as soon as you make the dough, you can wait an hour. Just leave it on your counter like you did with the bread. Watch, make sure it doubles in size. Then then I'll show you how to do the rest of that. But she kind of did it in the video where you want to like stretch it and stretch it and stretch it. You don't really, a lot of times people think, oh, they're going to throw it up in the air and catch it. But a lot of times that doesn't really happen because you're just stretching it and just spread it around when you're making the pizza. But yeah, so it's kind of interesting. And then, yeah, so then I'm gonna put this in the fridge and it'll be ready for us to make pizzas on Thursday.